You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. One of my favorite subjects, one of my favorite topics is mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset, everything else just kind of falls apart from there. You can have a great marketing plan, great business plan, great product, great service. But if there's something going on in your head that's getting in the way, then you've got to deal with that. The problems in your business are not out there. The problems are inside, specifically your mindset, subconscious beliefs, feelings of overwhelm. Or that imposter mentality that we talk about all the time. How do we deal with that? How do we overcome that? Today's guest is a real expert at doing this. She is Malorie Nicole, and she helps established entrepreneurs turn their stress, overwhelm, and income caps into profit and fulfillment. How does she do it? By removing the mental barriers that prevent them from living the life they want. So this is exactly type of person we need to have on Rebelpreneur Radio, because we're trying to build the business we need to live the life that we want. And how do we overcome those mental barriers that's preventing us from achieving what we are really capable of? So I'm really excited to have you, Malorie Nicole. Welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Ralph, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. And thank you for that beautiful intro of really painting the picture.
Yeah, but because it's a picture that I'm all too familiar with, and I think
I can raise my hand too.
We can all relate. So we all deal with this, unless you are Mr. Spock and totally devoid of emotion, and no one is, because no one's a Vulcan, everyone is an Earthling. We have thoughts and we have feelings, and those thoughts and feelings have a lot to do with our performance and our success. Our beliefs form and shape our behaviors. So we really got to pay attention to how those beliefs become established. You help people to figure this out and to realize that the problem is not necessarily what they think it is, but it's really a mindset thing. Tell us why that is.
Yeah, it's such a great question. And there's a lot of business owners out there that, get stuck on trying to outwork their problems. As business owners and as entrepreneurs, we will continue to have problems, every day or week, month or year that we will have to experience and work through as we grow. And what happens a lot of times is we will tend to say something like, oh, I have a sales problem, versus really understanding the root of why, quote unquote, said sales problem exists. So we have a tendency to put these things into categories of, I have a marketing problem, or have an income problem, or have a client fulfillment problem. This is specifically speaking to established business owners that have, they're making six figures or so, and they have things in place. And what they're not realizing is a lot of these problems are actually a result or a reflection of what's going on internally and how this business owner is behaving from their thoughts.
That is such a powerful paradigm shift. I mean, that right there is the beginning of addressing these mental barriers, is getting real about what's going on, that maybe the problem isn't a marketing problem, it's a marketing mindset problem. Maybe it's not a sales problem, it's a sales mindset problem. And, all of the tools out there that try to help people attract their perfect client, attract their ideal client. Maybe it's not client attraction problem, it's a client mindset problem. You're attracting exactly what you expect to attract.
Exactly.
But you're doing it unconsciously. You're not doing it intentionally. How did you get started in this exciting world of trying to help entrepreneurs overcome their mental barriers?
It was a complete accident that was completely aligned now that I look back on it. In 2014, I got incredibly sick. And to make a long story very short, I realized over a matter of a few months that I had some food intolerances. And I was doing everything that I could to try and fix it, but I wasn't getting to the root of the issue and really removing it, which is very similar to what we're talking about right now when we talk about these mindset problems and the results of how they show up in business and addressing that instead of the real problem. I was doing the same thing with my health. And that led me to a further exploration of education to get a health and wellness certification. I was working for an engineering firm at the time. I had no intention of starting a health and wellness business, but I couldn't ignore this part of me that wanted to know more about health and wellness. So I started saying yes to these, what I call just callings, gut feelings, intuitive hits of, hey, you should go Google this, or hey, you should go explore this. I started saying yes to those things. And in about 6 months, I had invested and gotten my first health and wellness certification. And that really led me into a world of online entrepreneurship and further education in the mind, in how our belief system works and subconscious beliefs. I've gotten numerous certifications under my belt at this point, but that's really where it all started.
So it's something that was born in you out of your own difficulty. And interesting, it was in health, not in running your business, but the lessons that you learn and what you apply are well, it's universally applicable, whether it's health, relationships, business. It all comes back down to our mindset, doesn't it?
It does. And the more I, was connecting with business owners in the online space, the more I would hear people talk about things like, I'll just go back to sales, for example, because that's something every business owner has to do. I would hear people say things like, I seem to keep attracting broke people, or I seem to not be able to close my sales calls, or I seem to be experiencing everything with so much overwhelm. And they would blame it on the business as if the business had a sales problem. When we look at it, we are our business. We run our business. Our business is a result of decisions that we make and how we set things up. That's all it is. And the deeper I started getting into this subconscious belief work and childhood programming and how we behave, I started thinking to myself, I wonder if the people that are saying these things actually realize where the root of this problem is, that they don't actually have a sales problem. They have a problem asking for money, or they have a problem with commitment.
Yeah.
Whatever the problem might be, I noticed more and more that there was a lack of awareness to what was really creating the actual patterns that people were saying they were experiencing in their business, as well as some of my own. This is not that I didn't also experience my own journey in this too, and that it was everyone else. I started seeing the same things for myself in certain business aspects that really, when it changed, was when I took the stance to say, okay, what am I doing? How am I thinking? So that I can actually result in the change I'm looking for.
Very, very interesting. And now you focus specifically, the clients that you work with are established business owners. What's unique about them that you get better results working with them as opposed to, say, someone who is just starting out or just thinking about starting?
That's a great question. And it's a very simple answer. Most of them already know so much already. They don't need to know more. That's not actually the problem. But there's still a voice inside of them that's saying, hey, you still haven't figured out your marketing issue, or hey, you haven't figured out how to make $1 million, or hey, you haven't figured this out or that out. So they keep investing in these programs and they keep investing in more and more marketing. And it's not that those things aren't important, because every business needs that. You are doing something for your people that's really helping them create visibility and be seen in ways that they can't without your help. And if we really look back and think about it, this conversation right here is an act of marketing. It's getting in front of more listeners. But when we're doing all of these things from this anxious feeling of scarcity and it's all going to break tomorrow, and what's the next thing that I have to do, we end up having businesses and we have money in our bank but we're not happy and we're not enjoying what we've created. So the more I started to do this work, naturally I had people that were raising their hands saying, I think you might be able to help me with something because this is not where I thought I was going to be at this point in my business or my career. Well, really, I should say business because I don't really work with people in corporate. But in the beginning, when you're first starting your business, there is a lot that you need to know. You need to know what it is that you're stepping into. You need to know how to tell your people how you solve their problem. You need to know how to get on marketing channels. You need to know all these things. And that's an important part of business. That's just not the part that I love to do.
I was about to ask, well, don't those corporate suits, don't they need some mindset work too? Yeah, they do. It's just you're not the one for them. They're not your ideal prospect.
Right. There's so many other people out there that are absolute geniuses to say, hey, let me help you with your messaging. Let me help you dial in, which I think is something you actually do. Let me help you dial in like how to speak to people. Let me help you dial in all these different marketing components that you're looking for. And there was a time in my business that I was doing marketing and mindset. And I found that really, I'm just really good at the mindset component. And the more that I started to say yes to that, even though it didn't quite make sense because people love buying marketing.
Yeah.
The more my business actually started to grow and I was really able to help people with the thing that I knew that I was called to help them with, then things started to really fall into place and feel aligned.
It's interesting you bring that up because I do help people. It's called Master Your Message, and it does take them through a process of figuring out, have something worth saying, say it well and say it often. And then how do you craft that and make that so that it is a very natural extension of who you are. But the interesting thing is, one of the first components is mindset. Because it affects everything. If you are not persuaded about who you are, the problems you solve, the solutions that you offer to the market, if you're not convinced of your value, how can you communicate value to other people? And most of all, how can you expect them to pay you for value when you don't even know what your value is? So before we can even discuss messaging, marketing, media, publishing, all of the great things that come after you've mastered your message, you have to master your mindset first. So this is really, really cool to see someone who actually specializes in this. But in my view, this is where everything begins to fall apart, is in the mind. And you can hire the greatest copywriter. You can design a great website. You can do all of these other things and all of these tools, but it's really easy to project that my problem is not in my head. My problem is I need this program. I need another certification. I need another tool. Here's the latest social media thing I need to get over there. But you're always struggling, always spinning your wheels, never really getting any momentum. And that's because we haven't dealt with the mindset. So what are some things that our listeners can do? And let's assume we've got people from all different backgrounds, but let's assume that they are established entrepreneurs, but they're stressed out. They're overwhelmed, and they realize that they've got some mindset issues, or they, at least they suspect, if they're honest, they've got some mindset challenges. And there's got to be more to it than just saying, okay, well, think positive thoughts. What's a process that we could share to get people moving in the right direction mentally?
Yeah. And I love how you just kind of shared that, because what you really just said there is, maybe the problem actually is that you continue to feel like you need something that you don't have. Maybe that's the real problem, right? Yeah. But we keep doing these things like, I'll buy this, or I'll hire this person, that person. And then we don't get the results that we're looking for because the energy and the mindset that we're going into the program or the person that we've hired is because we're looking for something to fix us. And
they can't do it. And you know what?
Right.
Now that you put it that way, that's actually the recipe for failure in any relationship. If you go into a relationship And your expectation going in is this other person is going to complete me. This other person is going to fill something in my life that's lacking, and they are thinking the same thing of you, then it's very difficult for that relationship to thrive because you're in taking mode and you're trying to get something from someone else that they're not able to do. Again, why? Because of the mindset, because of the belief system that you went into the relationship with. And I find people go into business with those same assumptions that are really disempowering. How do we move beyond that?
Absolutely. Yep. So the first thing to do is we're going to talk about the F word, actually. The F word is where it starts. And it's not the F word you're thinking. It's the word feel. The first thing to do in this is to look at what you're avoiding. So all entrepreneurs that are experiencing a high level of stress or overwhelm, which is actually, it's more and more common than we even realize, because there's a lot of silent sufferers is what I call them out there. People that seemingly from their social media are crushing it, but inside they are waking up every day, not excited, and going to bed every night stressed out.
They're crushed. So, they're not crushing it. They are crushed.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing to do is to look at the feeling, feel the feeling. Like, what is it that you're actually feeling? Because if you don't feel it and you just keep trying to avoid it, you won't get to the root of the issue and the root of the problem. So you might be avoiding money, looking at your finances. You might be avoiding expanding in marketing. You might be avoiding getting on sales calls because you're uncomfortable asking for money. What is the thing that you're avoiding? And look at what the feeling is that you're connecting with the thing that you're avoiding to see what the real problem is. So maybe the real problem is, I don't want to feel rejection. So I'm going to then behave and do everything I possibly can to avoid the feeling of rejection. For example, I'm going to hire Ralph to help me with my messaging. I'm going to hire this person to help me with this, because I'm going to keep avoiding the feeling of rejection and keep spending money on things to fix my business, when the real problem is I haven't given myself permission to face the subconscious beliefs that keep creating the same feelings over and over and over again that I'm trying to shut down.
Yeah.
Right? Because stress, we've normalized stress in this culture. And as entrepreneurs, it's even worse. We, claim that you have to work 80 hours a week to make the money that you want. Or if you're not hustling, you're losing. Or if you're not, if you're not killing yourself, then don't expect to succeed.
Yeah.
And I'm not at all saying that you can just sit around and not work and expect to make money, because that's a whole other belief series that we're talking about. But if you're telling yourself these stories, it's really time to start looking at, how are you showing up to your business? And is the stress and the overwhelm starting because of something internal? So from there, you'd want to get really curious. You'd want to start asking yourself some questions. Why have I actually been stressed for the last 4 years that I've been running my business? Why am I really avoiding sales calls? Why am I actually avoiding getting on more podcasts or getting on stage and sharing my message? And get to the root of that so that you can really start seeing the area of growth that is showing up for you, not against you, but showing up for you to help you see what's next in your own expansion so that you can make more money and also enjoy the way that you're running your business.
I love that. Yeah. And it's really feeling the feeling. And I love how you kind of, you reverse engineer this process. It's the stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that we tell other people. Well, stories are constructed based on belief, and the stories are intended to elucidate our meaning, the meaning that we attach to something. So when you ask the question why, there's a story, and that story supports a belief. Now, the belief can be false. It could be the wrong belief, but you repeat that story to yourself enough times, it becomes a legend, and then it becomes like you can't even go there anymore. It is just assumed that it is true. What we have to do is deconstruct that. Where did that come from? where did that story come from? Why do we keep telling ourselves the same disempowering stories over and over again? Because it's reinforcing this belief system. So you're saying acknowledge that, step into that, feel that, and get to the root. Why are you avoiding this? What's the thing behind the thing? And that's what we need to focus on.
Well, all of that stuff is really what's in our subconscious programming. And I'll be totally transparent and honest with you here. I have about half and half male, female clients. And usually with my male clients, there is a little bit of a block that's like, oh, I don't want to talk about feelings. And here's the thing. It's not necessarily the feeling that we have to talk about. It's the subconscious programming that keeps telling your brain and your body to ignite the feeling that you're feeling. So when you feel that anxiety, you feel it somewhere in your body. When you feel that stress, you feel it somewhere in your body. When you don't want to hit send and you're about to put out on your email the biggest proposal that you've ever written up and you're feeling blocked to hitting send because it's a lot of money that you're asking for, even though it all of the value in the world is in there, there's a reason that these things show up. And it all goes back to our subconscious programming. So it's not really talking about like, oh, well, how does that make you feel? And that's interesting. We're really wanting to look at what's the story under the feeling so that we can get clear on what your brain is telling you and why you keep experiencing these patterns over and over again so that you can create new neural pathways and new places for your brain to go so that next time you have a huge proposal sitting in your inbox or sitting in your about to send box in your email. You don't feel resistance before you press the button and have it shoot out.
That's such a great example because I'm not going to say I struggle with that, but I experience that moment's hesitation, and it is doubt that did I say everything that I needed to say? It's more of a perfectionism that enters in. That's the story. That's how my belief system manifests. Instead of saying, I'm not sure that I'm really capable, it manifests as, well, this has to be perfect. This interview has to be perfect. This proposal has to be perfect. I have to be perfect. And nobody's perfect.
Right. Exactly. And we all have different versions. And, the other part of this too, and I know that you've experienced this, I certainly have, is we go through different levels of growth in our business. So parts of you that you release and that you work through in the first 12 months, they're going to be different maybe than for when your income is very different. Later on, 5 years from now, you're going to go through different growth phases of mindset that are required for your business to also evolve, profitability, expansion, and marketing, etc.
Yeah. So as your business scales, your problems and opportunities scale right along with it. And so your mindset has to grow and accommodate. Do you ever get to a place where, hey, I'm handling it. I've got this mindset thing under control? Or is it a constant journey of growth and discovering and adapting and overcoming these new challenges?
That's a great question. And I have a lot of clients that stick around for quite a while. And it's not because they keep hitting the same problems. It's actually a reflection that the conversations start to change and they feel really good about where they are. They just want to keep growing. So they want to keep nurturing that part of them. They want to keep making sure that they have another set of eyes on where they're expanding to and helping them, navigate around things that they might not be seeing that are showing up. So can we get out of the stress and the overwhelm? Yes. In fact, I see it all the time. Does it mean that stress will never show up again? No. But it's the difference of, did I just have a half hour, an hour of, a little bit of a chaos in my mind? Or did I just get stuck for 60 days, unable to shift out of it? And really kind of questioning why I started this business to begin with for the last couple months. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No matter how great we are at driving in the snow, for example, sometimes we're going to get stuck. And no matter how experienced you are, you can come upon situations and circumstances that leave you stuck. So when you're stuck, you can spin your wheels and waste a lot of time, or you can just call for a tow or get some help or get somebody to give you assistance. I see this happening. I don't want to talk about myself the whole time. I see this happening with me when I read in my journal, okay, I'm dealing with something. And then, that looks familiar. And I hit the search button and it pops up a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I'm like, man, I hate when I see those vicious cycles. It's like, we've already dealt with this. Why am I dealing with this again? So at least I'm aware of it. But a lot of people are not aware of the fact that they keep fighting the same battles over and over again in their mind, and they never make any forward progress unless they've got someone on the outside to say, hey, stop doing that.
Yeah. And that is because of what you had asked a few minutes ago. What can somebody do? Really look at the things you're avoiding. I've had people get on the phone with me that have said before, I'm making $30,000 a month and I'm absolutely terrified to look at my finances and to look at my money. Well, I'm going to just flat out, there's some mindset stuff there. Like there's a problem if you're bringing in that kind of money a month and you're scared to look at your finances. All that can be shifted and changed. But when we become so super good at avoiding things, we really block our opportunities for growth. And I truly believe that our profitability is a reflection of how much we are allowing ourselves to be the leaders that we're called to be in whatever industry it is. Whatever industry you're in, you have an opportunity to create growth with you, with your team, with the clients that you serve. And your ability not to block that will result in the income growth as well.
You are the host of Abundantly Clear, the Growth Mindset podcast. Tell us a little bit about your program.
Yeah. So the podcast or the program?
Both. I want to hear about both.
Yeah. The podcast is Wednesday. I do Wednesday episodes. I do a guest episode every Wednesday. And I focus on all things mindset, and I tie in and have guest experts in entrepreneurship as well to share their stories, whether it's overcoming challenges or more expert tactical things that they can do to help their own mindset. And then I also do very short solo episodes on Mondays that are 10, 15 minutes long, just to help start the week out in a really good way and have positivity coming in to your ears as you're starting the week off. And then the work that I do is I've got two different things that I'm offering right now is one-on-one coaching. I do offer that. And then I also do consistent growth, which is helping agency owners who have hit 20 to 30K marks that are struggling to continue to grow to seven figures. I have a partner and we help streamline their systems and remove their mindset barriers to help them achieve success and continue to scale to seven figures. I obviously am not the one doing the systems portion of that. Her name is Katia Sarmiento. And together we help agency owners scale past the blocks that are showing up for them. And I do the mindset work. She does the systems part.
Really cool. So you're working with individual business owners, as well as agencies and larger businesses, whatever it is that they need. And it's interesting. The more people you have in a business, I suppose, the more mindset challenges you have. So are you trying to... Let me see how I should best put this without offending anyone.
I have a feeling where you're coming from already.
Are you going to have to shift the mindset of everyone that works there in order to get these results, or can you work with the owner and then see that trickle down as the owner gets their mindset where it needs to be?
It's very much the latter, which is the really, really cool part, because that's another thing that business owners tend to have a problem complaining with, that they don't even realize they're doing this, but they say things like, oh, my team isn't delivering and my clients are doing this. And if I just had a better team, it would all work. Right. When they don't actually realize that they have the power to help shift all of that. So streamlining systems is part of it, because if you don't have the hours to grow, that is a problem in and of itself. But then once you have your hours back, we really want to get into what's blocking you from showing true leadership and effective communication and delegation. Delegation is something that I'm finding so many business owners are having a hard time with, because they don't want to be bossy or make people feel like they're micromanaging or make people feel like they're saying they did something wrong. So they just don't say anything at all. And then, we have this break in people that are on their team that aren't effectively working to their optimal potential. But the business owner gets frustrated because they think that the team isn't performing when there's actually things that the business owner can do to set the communication style up for success within the team culture that exists.
So once again, it's not an employee problem. It's an employee mindset problem. Or let me backtrack. It's an employer mindset problem.
Yeah, it really is. And it could sound like, if you're listening to this and you're like, gosh, this sounds like she's just blaming it all on me. It's actually such an amazing shift. And it's a powerful shift to say, you're totally responsible, which means you can do everything possible to change this because nobody else is holding you back. And when you recognize that, like, wow, if there's something that's not working in my life, I get to take responsibility for that and to create change. How can there be anything more empowering than that right there?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what Michael Gerber would always say, that the first step is to recognize and take responsibility for every problem you've got. Every problem you've got is yours. And Absolutely. The freedom, as you say, comes from the fact that you got complete control. So if you don't like the business that you're building, if you don't like the life that you have as a result of the way you've gone about building your business, the first thing is take ownership of that problem, and then realize by taking ownership, you can take control. You can design the business you need to deliver the life that you want, and it all begins there in your mind. This has been really, it's always fun to talk about mindset. It's a lot more fun to talk about it than it is to work on it sometimes. But this has really been eye-opening, Malorie, and I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us. Any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
As cliche as it is, I really just encourage everyone to keep thinking big. We were meant to do really big things, and it's only because of our fears and conditioned belief that hold us back from seeing true possibility. And this could be somebody that's making a ton of money that's not enjoying their life. Dream bigger and know that just because you have a business and just because you are an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you have to live in this box of just ways that you're sacrificing your sanity and your joy right now, or whatever it means. If you are stressed and uncomfortable, know that there's some type of conditioned thinking that might be holding you back, and to really expand outside and look at the possibilities of where you could be.
Well, there you have it from Malorie Nicole. She helps established entrepreneurs to turn their stress, overwhelm, and income caps into profit and fulfillment by removing the mental barriers, preventing them from living the life they want. If that resonates with you, go check her out at Malorie-Nicole.com, Malorie-Nicole.com. And we'll have that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. Malorie, it's been a real pleasure to get to know you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today on Rebelpreneur Radio. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ralph. I really appreciate you having me.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.